Join me as I take you through one of the biggest decisions of my life, retiring early at 49 years old. And whether or not it was actually worth it, early retirement is a dream for a lot of people. The idea of walking away from the 9 to 5 grind, no alarm clock, no commute, no office politics, and no coworker drama. Just freedom, and freedom to spend your time how you want. Freedom to explore your passions, freedom to actually live your life while you still have the health and energy to enjoy it. Buenas tardes, mis amigos, y bendiciones para todos ustedes. Good afternoon, my friends, and blessings to you all. My name is Charity Hagenars, and bienvenido a mi canal if you're new here, y bienvenido de nuevo if we're already old friends. If you enjoy this content, please press the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. Let's be honest, that dream becomes even more appealing when you realize how many people work their entire lives only to retire when they're too tired or too sick to really enjoy it. But early retirement also comes with a lot of doubt. People ask you, can you really afford it? Won't you get bored? What if you run out of money? What if something goes wrong? And then there are the darker thoughts no one really talks about. The fear of becoming irrelevant, disconnected, or worse, retiring and then not living long enough to enjoy it at all. A lot of people's identities are tied to their jobs. A recent Wall Street Journal piece highlights how leaving work can quietly erode our sense of being needed, valued, and connected. I heard all of those warnings. In fact, I was warned about them repeatedly during my 27-year career in work-sponsored retirement seminars. I took that course like 3 times. And honestly, some of those fears stuck with me. My path to early retirement was not easy. I still had a family to support. We lived mostly on my income. We had an operational motel up until 2019, and that was my husband's source of income. For the most part, he took odd jobs here and there. So everything we did required careful planning, discipline, and sacrifice. We made hard decisions, really hard ones. We chose to leave our home country. We chose to move somewhere with a much lower cost of living. We chose to take calculated financial risks that many people would never feel comfortable taking. We're not just leaving behind financial security, we were leaving all of our friends and family behind. And yes, there are moments when it felt terrifying. There were times I wondered if I was gambling with my family's future, if I was being reckless, if I was being selfish. But we believed deeply that there was a better life waiting for us outside of Canada. A life with more freedom, more time together, and less financial pressure. Sometimes living in Canada just felt like a rat race where all we did was work and pay bills. And where is the living in that? And that belief is what kept us moving forward. The financial planning alone was intense. I worked closely with a financial advisor, and we analyzed everything: investments, pension options, healthcare risks, worst case scenarios, market crashes. What happens if I get sick? What happens if we outlive our savings? And what about our children and their future with schooling? Remember, I still have little kids, ages 9, 14, and 15 at the time. We ran the numbers again and again. And do I stay until I'm 55 and retire without a penalty? Do I leave early and take the hit? Do I take a monthly pension or a lump sum? Do I keep life insurance or do I self-insure? What happens if something happens to me tomorrow? Every option had consequences. And when you're responsible for a family, those decisions carry a lot of weight with them. Once a decision was made, everything moved fast. I had to train my replacement at my job. We had to sell our house, which is still for sale, by the way. It still has not sold. We had to pack up our entire lives, ship a 20-foot container across the oceans, and move 4,000 kilometers away from everything familiar. We were leaving friends, family, security, certainty, all behind in Canada. And we had done a scouting trip the year before, but our kids hadn't even seen El Salvador yet. The pressure was enormous, and emotionally, it was one of the hardest seasons of our lives. We leaned heavily on our faith during that time. Our church family was amazing, There were so many moments where all we could do was pray and trust that God was guiding us, because from a human perspective, it felt so overwhelming. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about the night before we left. I will never forget that night as long as I live. And it was Monday, August 19th. But let's take a step back to the day before on Sunday. That is where we got up in front of the whole church and told them this was our last Sunday. Now, most people knew by this time that we would be leaving. This was our final step, but not everyone. And we had so many things to move to the warehouse, and then we had to pallet everything up on the pallets. So we asked for help from our church and our friends. And I think we had 6 or 7 families come over after church that day and help us get the big things like a rocking chair, GJ's rolling tool carts, and ladders to the warehouse. Now, the alternator had gone in our van that week. So we had to charge the battery, and we could only make one trip to the warehouse and back on that battery before charging it again. It was crazy. So we needed manpower, we needed cars and trucks and people with trailers to help us get the last of our stuff to the warehouse as we were leaving in 2 days. That was very successful, and we had 8 pallets filled by the end of that day and a part of another one going on. Now, that was the day that I found out that we only needed a 20-foot shipping container, although with a little bit more time, we could have filled a 40-foot one easily. So now it's Monday, August 19th, and we're still packing the pallets at the warehouse when we realized we'd forgotten important things like pieces of equipment, tools, or personal items at home. Now, my biggest fear was actually that we'd bring part of something and then leave the other part behind, like our TV. We left the TV stand home, which was fine because we were going to hang those TVs up anyway, eventually. But until we had it mounted to the wall, we had to like lean it on the sofa. I remember we brought the electronic keyboard, but forgot the stand and the music stand. Like that was just left in the dining room. There was just chaos. So my husband and my eldest son, they rushed back to our house while we waited at the warehouse, because as soon as we shut the door, that was going to lock. So we couldn't even all leave. Somebody had to stay there at the warehouse. It was something, right? Like we're trying not to panic. This was so stressful. So by the time everything was actually done, it was late. It was after 5 p.m. And we thought, oh, we'll go out for dinner and relax. Instead, we spent the entire night packing. We had 10 suitcases and every item was carefully weighed. Every decision was like agonizing. Do we take this? Is it too heavy? Do we really need it? We didn't sleep at all. Actually, my husband took about an hour to pack every suitcase, and we had 10, right? So that's 10 hours after we'd already, had some dinner, which was just whatever we had at home. Like we didn't even like throw food away from the fridge. I had my friends come over and help clean out stuff afterwards. And we even did like an auction. My friend did an auction with all our furniture afterwards. Like the house is still there. There's still stuff in it. And we did leave behind a few things we'd like to go back and get. So that's still a thing. But the next morning, our ride arrived at 7 a.m. on August 20th. And now we actually had 2 rides because we had someone with a van and someone with a car, because we had 5 of us. We had 3 cats, the 10 suitcases. Like it was just insane. And we had 3 cats that we had to get into the carriers. Now, one of which broke. The carrier just completely, the zipper, no good. So that forced us to make an emergency stop at a pet store along the way. Now, my husband also forgot his hat and his cane and his docking station to his laptop, and there's so much more. So we actually had to stop at Walmart to get him a cane, because when he sits for a long time, like in an airplane, it's hard for him to get back up because of his bad back. So we had to stop at Walmart and get a cane too. Like there was just so much stuff going through our heads. Like, oh my gosh, do we do this? Do we do that? And I just remember a house. It is a disaster. You couldn't even walk through it because stuff that didn't make it to the suitcases were just thrown on the floor. So my friends really helped us out a lot, getting the house looking decent enough to show it, because it was still for sale, remember? So yeah, our house hadn't sold before we left, which really that would have been amazing if it had, although I don't know how that would have ended up with the complexities of getting all of our stuff out there really fast. I mean, I wish we had 2 more months with that warehouse. We could have had everything packed up. The house would have been emptied. It would have been, I don't know, woulda, shoulda, coulda, That's life. Like I said, we're still going to go back and get a few more things that we really wish we would have had. I had to kind of accept the fact that when we left, GJ would have to go back because there was just so much disorder in our house when we left. And he did go back to Canada last year for a few months, and he will have to go back again. So his life, right? It just adds a little bit of stress, right? If we would have been able to sell our property, we would have had that money. which would have made financially a little easier here. Maybe we could have bought property by now, but we haven't. You know, God has a plan, right? I don't know what the plan is, but God has a plan, and I'm sure He's working here to make that happen in His timing. At every step, we just had to keep asking ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Is it too late to turn back? And just thinking about it now, like it's still kind of raising my blood pressure a little bit because, oh my gosh, it was such emotional turmoil. Why preparation matters with planning a retirement, not just like planning a retirement and leaving a country at the same time, because the planning is what made the thing perfect. So not everyone will retire early. I mean, let's be honest, I had grandparents that worked until they died basically, and not everyone will move to another country when they do retire. But everyone faces moments where they have to make big life-altering decisions. And what I learned through all of this is simple. The more prepared you are financially, mentally, emotionally, the more confident you feel when the moment comes. That preparation made all the difference for us. My middle son has autism, and one thing we have learned raising him these 15 years now is that he doesn't do well with change. So in July 2023, when we came back from El Salvador, we told our children that we would be moving there, but we didn't know when. This was July 2023. We didn't move to August 2024. 2023 was very rough after we made that decision. We made a new friend who was like a little brother to me, and he was going to help us with the renovations for the house and the motel. And then he got killed. So then we had to make a decision, were we going to finish the renovations at all? It was so demoralizing. His death really shook my family, and dealing with his mother afterwards was like next level crazy. It was almost like the moment we started following God's plan for us, the devil put everything in our path to distract us from that plan. This always left us questioning what we were doing, and of course, going to God for guidance on a daily basis in prayer. Now, on our scouting trip to El Salvador, we made another important decision. We decided to start a business. Not because we had to necessarily, but because we actually wanted to. We wanted something that could provide additional financial security, but also give us a purpose, create a legacy for our children, and allow us to build something meaningful. That's something I truly believe in. So if you plan well, your retirement doesn't have to mean stopping. It can actually mean choosing what to do next. El Salvador is a country on the way up, and we want to be part of that ride. Another Canadian who lives here said this in an interview. In Canada, when I think about tomorrow, it is worse looking than today. But in El Salvador, when I think about tomorrow, it is better looking than today. And that is how we knew we were making the right decision. Our family has a future in El Salvador. We had no future in Canada. Canada is a dying country. Only those with blinders on would disagree with that. The cost of groceries is out of control. The utility bills have skyrocketed. Rent is so high. I have a friend who's on like government housing or city living, and she still pays $1,400 a month. And that's subsidized housing. That's just crazy. Mortgages are completely unattainable for the majority of young people today. And the healthcare is going down the toilet. They offer you medical assistance in dying to harvest your organs instead of offering you help to get better. Taxes are outrageous. And it's not like they're going to fix the roads or the schools or the hospitals. Actually, those are all provincial anyway, or to make your daily life better. No, they're going to foreign countries and to the pockets of politicians. The Canadian government is corrupt to the core. El Salvador isn't for everyone, but it is for us. The real turning point came when I realized something powerful. I was financially independent, not wealthy, not rich, but secure. We had enough savings, investments, and cash flow to support ourselves, especially living in a country with a lower cost of living. If we had stayed in Canada, this would not have worked. But in El Salvador, it did. And that realization changed everything. I had freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from obligation, freedom to choose how and where I spend my time. And I turned 50 here in El Salvador, something I never imagined I'd do. Not at all. Many of you know that we've been on YouTube since 2012. That's a long time ago. And at first it was just to stay connected with our family because we lived far away from our family. And then it became a way to kind of document our lives. Around 2018, I got really active with YouTube and releasing, on a semi-regular basis, some videos, letting our family know what's going on here. But after moving to El Salvador, things exploded. Our videos went viral, we got monetized, people started asking questions, like lots of questions. And I love it. We even started our own online community with over 130 people that are part of our WhatsApp community now. It is fantastic. I think about 20% of the group actually live here now, and the rest, the other 80%, are trying to find a way to get here. And if you want to join that group, please just email me your WhatsApp number at youtube@hagenars.com, and I'll add you to that group too, because we just talk about anything and everything El Salvador and beyond. But over time, I realized something. My channel had become focused almost entirely on El Salvador itself. Leaving your home country, moving here, the safety, the cost of living. And while I love that content, it's not the whole story, because people kept asking, how do you actually live here? Where do you buy things? How do you bake or build or fix or create? How do you thrive, not just survive? How can I live a normal life? And that's where my new channel comes in. This new channel is about how we make it here, in every sense of the word. Making things, building, renovating, cooking, baking, finding materials, finding and using tools, sewing, creating a home, and yes, making it financially, emotionally, and spiritually. It's a double meaning and completely intentional. This channel is about living well, creating with what you have, and building a meaningful life, even in a foreign country. Early retirement isn't for everyone, but for us, it was worth it. The fear, the uncertainty, the risk, all of it. And if you're curious about early retirement, if you're thinking about moving abroad, or if you just want to see what life looks like when you choose a different path, I'd love for you to come with us on that journey. I'll still be posting weekly here on this channel on Saturdays at 6 p.m. El Salvador time, and now also weekly on the new channel called Making It in El Salvador. So check it out, subscribe, and join us on this next chapter, because we're not just living in El Salvador, we're making it in El Salvador. Starting from finding the ingredients to make wheat bread, I didn't know that'd be so hard, and building a crafting desk for me, for my studio upstairs. So if you like this content, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Join me as I take you through, it's a bit too much energy there.
Don't forget to hit the like button.